Hey fan peeps, this is your podcast host Kunal here. I started this during the pandemic, and in this podcast I discuss my nerdy thoughts and hobbies with you, with the occasional special guest. From anime to Zeppelins, we talk about it all. Okay, so we were so tired after talking about children nearly ruining my ninjutsu experience.
Ugh.
That we have to start talking about something else that's childish and
Yeah.
that I thoroughly enjoyed, which was I got to see a fucking Gundam.
In real life?
And you should have said Jinkies after that or something, because that's what it sounded like. Jinkies. I in real life. Thanks, Velma. Yeah, so I went to, this was on the second leg when I was in Tokyo. My buddy DJ, who is just fun employed and jumping around the world like crazy, he was my old launch code coordinator back in St. Louis. So it was kind of wild. And he really took care of me as well, took me around. He's the one that took me to the Gundam store, actually, initially. And I wanted to see the Gundam because we were going to this place called Joypolis, which is like an indoor amusement park.
Nice.
And it was a good change from like just buying stuff and going around seeing historical stuff. Just like go and have a day where I just goofed off was actually like just what I needed. And right next to it, within like 10 minutes of walking, was a Gundam. And I'm talking like, I mean, based on the photos, it was huge. I would say maybe 10 or 15 canals if you stack them on top of each other.
That's a lot of canals.
It is a lot of, it's too much canals.
Too many canals.
And one planet. And it was like, and it was the Unicorn Gundam. It wasn't the Gundam that was pretty popular in the news, which is the original Amuro Ray Gundam, which is the RX-78, RX-78-2, I believe. And
he corrects it in his normal nerd voice.
Hey, man, I got to be right in certain things. Yeah, it was cool. They're supposed to be bringing that back in 2025, I think, in Osaka. I'm not certain, but I've been hearing stuff about it. So I saw it. It was the Unicorn Gundam. It's like the knees popped open. There were lights. The red lights came on. The unicorn thing popped out and became like a whole. It was just beautiful, and I didn't plan on it doing that because it's supposed to do that on the hour of the hour, and we just happened upon it, and I took a shit ton of photos and whatnot, and then I came back to the hotel and got ready for the izakaya at night. But that was so much fun to see that and happen upon that. That was sometimes the best things in travel is where you least expect them.
Yeah. So you mentioned izakaya night. What is an izakaya night?
So an izakaya is basically just like if you've ever seen on Netflix Midnight Diner Tokyo, it's that kind of feel. Now this is a bit of a variation on, like you'll have variations of that, but it's basically a bar. And you'll go and get served drinks, and you can get like small dishes that come with it too. And Japan, like, the rest of the world is really westernized. So like Japan loves, like, as much as we're weebs talking about Japan, there is like an understanding that Japan loves the West. And because of that, they have their own takes on different dishes. So like I had some of the best noodles, some of the best like mac and cheese out there. Like,
what? For real?
Yeah. It was wild. Like it was an Italian take. It was their take on Italian mac and cheese. And then they had like one that you could like mashed up this like salmon and other stuff. And there was like coffee grounds. And then they also did these. Yeah, it was wild. It threw me off completely. And not too much coffee grounds, but enough for just like a seasoning on top of it.
Yeah, like an earthy taste.
Yes. And then there was like a sushi roll that was really interesting. They had their own Tabasco sauce called Tabasco sauce. And then I went to a different place and they had karage, which is just like the way that Japan fries food is ridiculous. It's super light. Like it was the best fried chicken I've had. Some of the best like chicken skewers I've had. All just like almost like little tapas that you would get in certain dishes. I And then, God, what is it? There was also these choshu shots, which is like a type of barley wine. And I had just shaved. So she like poured the liquor and like it was with this, I think, beef bone. And like it was it was not too heavy because like the way the Japanese drink out there is mostly like highballs. So it's like watered down drinks with alcohol. So like
Uh-huh.
me as a fucking lightweight, I fit right in. I was
Nice.
like, no, I was doing fine. And she poured the drink for me, and then like she got something got like all over my chin. So like if you watch the video, I just kind of like do this really quietly and then say thank you
Poor
as she
beardless
walks.
canal.
I know, right? He was having a good time. And then we went to another place, and then you got to actually like select your liquor and add like soda water or ice in your water with the drink. And some of the best, I had chicken intestines out there, which sounds gross, but with this like some of the hot powder they had was phenomenal.
And
And yeah, it was great. The dumplings were not that great there, but I had amazing gyoza at a Chinese restaurant in Shibuya, and like it was some of the best gyoza I've ever had, like ginger and a bunch of different spices in it. My mom got so excited she asked me to. She's like, "Do you remember the other spices?" I was like, "No, but I wish I did." So yeah,
yeah.
the izakaya experience. We hit two of them up. One was a little bit more catered to a Western audience, and then one was like very much hole in the wall. You open a small door and you can go in there. And that was just a cool experience. And altogether, I even though I'm not a huge drinker, like the fact that the alcohol content was so much lower, and we were just goofing off for longer. I was like happy to keep it going and
Hmm.
so whatnot. So yeah, really really fun experience. Right after that is when we went and did karaoke. So Charlie and I was like, yeah, super deep conversations, super like just two guys hanging out, and it was just a lot of fun. Almost so. He also said near a certain point, he's like, "I'm gonna show you the deranged part of Shibuya," which is where we
Ooh.
saw like the host clubs, and then I almost and like the drinking culture in Japan. It's like we have this like image that they're stereotyped image of being meek and mild, but like I legit almost saw a fight breakdown, and it was of course by like some foreigners, but it was ridiculous because as the fight was about to happen, the dude ran over to like the police like cabinet, and like there's this little like police section, and it's like a little cubicle, and no one was there, and so he ran back to the guy he was what's the word I'm looking for, trying to start a fight with, and like shook his hand and apologized.
Hmm.
So it was very weird. I've never seen a fight get canceled right then and there. That was very odd. I saw people killed over. I saw people falling on the street, like just passed out. So my whole perception of Japan had changed in a very goofy way that night. And then I was walking in the middle of the night, like on my own at like 2 o'clock, and felt super secure. Like I was like, okay, this is a little weird, but like no one accosted me, nothing like that.
Hmm.
It was a very very safe place to walk around at night, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
feel like this can pivot nicely into another point we wanted to talk about, and that's kind of like
sure.
things on the social norm side, especially for somebody coming into the culture from
Mhm.
outside. Like, what is it kind of like for folks not from Japan, navigating Japan? What were your experiences with other people not from
Yeah,
Japan?
sure.
You can begin anywhere, really.
Totally. That's perfect. That's where I wanted to go next. And so I definitely saw that Japan, especially Tokyo, has a lot of tourists, and they love the money that comes in from that. I had to buy actually an extra bag when I was coming back home because I just bought too much shit. And and my friend Charlie goes like, thanks for increasing the economy for me over here. I was like, hey man, it's a thank you for all the anime.
Oh my
Don't
god.
don't sweat it. Don't sweat it at all. And so I definitely ran into a lot of internationals, and the two groups that I met the most were New Yorkers and Germans. The
Hmm.
Germans, I am not surprised because they've been tight since World War II. I met
We,
some I know, but like,
we're gonna accept things have gotten better, but
oh yeah, they tremendously have. Like these were like very very kind Germans. There was one that I hung around with when I went to Mount Fuji, or two that I hung around at Mount Fuji. We took pictures together, and then another group that invited me to go out with them at Kyoto, but I couldn't make that because of my own schedule. Very 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 kind people. Definitely were enjoying Japan. Grew up in it. It was cool to see that, you know, even around the world, anime was a uniting factor. So,
we pray love.
that was we pray love, man. Like 100%. You just find commonalities with people, and like it shortens the gap on the bridge really quick, really quick. And yeah, and then a bunch of New Yorkers who one of them I just caught up with earlier this week, just to be like, hey, how's it going? What's it like being back? And everything. There was a really, really cool story that happened, which is a great kind of segue. I'm glad you kind of brought this topic up. I was in Kyoto and I had seen three things. I saw three things that day. I was exhausted. I saw Fushimi Inari Taisha, which is I saw the Torii Gates, and I saw the Golden Pavilion and Nara Park. So three things all at once. The Torii Gates are right next to the Fushimi Inari Taisha shrine. And actually four, if you count that, Arashima bamboo forest, which is like terrifying at night because I went there way too late. I took pictures and I left after 20 minutes because I was like, I had heard there were monkeys not too far. So I was like, I'm not getting slapped by a monkey. Those monkeys are stupid strong. I mean, like, doesn't care how much you deadlift. They are just made of muscle fibers. I ain't fucking around with that. And so I come back and I text my parents. I was like, hey, I'm super winded. I'm just going to catch you guys tomorrow. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. So just a quick flashback. Earlier that morning, I was at the konbini getting breakfast. And as I'm getting breakfast, I see these two guys kind of in a fluster. And one of them has a shirt on. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. That's a Venture Brothers t-shirt. What the hell?
Oh boy.
I was like, there's probably a good chance this guy's from America. And then I hear him talking English, and I like right before the light's about to change, I was like, yo, dude, is that a Venture Brothers t-shirt? And he looks at me like he is just seeing, I don't know, a new puppy for the first time. And he was like, yeah, it is. He came up, high-fived me. He came up again and we did the Venture salute, and he ran off. And I was like, oh, that was a cool encounter. I'll probably never see that person again, unfortunately. That dude was totally staying in my hotel.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, he and his friend were totally staying there. I came up to him after I texted my parents. I was like, yo, were you the two that I saw this morning? And he goes, yeah. So then we just goof off about their trip. They were traveling with 7 other friends. One of their friends actually just got engaged that day.
Aww.
And so, yeah, it was really heartwarming. And then we exchanged numbers and we're like, hey, we'll be in Tokyo at the same time. Hit me up. I'd love to, get breakfast or something. And that was awesome. We met up my last day and got the fluffy pancakes.
The fluffy pancakes.
Delightful. Absolutely worth the hour of waiting there. Worth it completely. And yeah, so now we've kept in touch since in the past month and just kind of goofed off. So Gene is the guy that had the Adventure Brothers t-shirt on. And then Jose was the one who I exchanged, who was the one I communicated with to keep things going. And his tag name on like Instagram and shit was like Hot King Chocolate. And I just, every time I see him, I was like, Hot Chocolate, what's happening? Or Hot King, what's happening? So that's just two very like super kind, wholesome guys I got to meet who are in New York. So I have an excuse now to go to New York.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were just geeking out about Japan. What's it like over here? What's it like over there? And how you kind of realize like at a certain point, like you see so many videos and you hear so much about it that things gets really hyped. And then you get to Japan and they are cool. Do not get me wrong. But it's like you get there and it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like everyone talks about Shibuya Crossing and it's cool. It's wild. Mm-hmm. But once you cross Shibuya Crossing twice, you're like ready to punch the next person that you're coming in contact with.
Oh god.
Because it's like 4 intersections in one and no one knows where they're going.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that can be annoying. Sometimes I saw some like mountains and stuff and I'm like, this is beautiful. But then I'm like, I also have mountains at home. It's not to say don't travel to Japan, but it is to say that sometimes you can overhype things in your head. So
Mm.
that was my experience meeting people who were international. And then people I met nationally were, I mean, super kind. I met this one cab driver. I wanted to take a nap desperately, and I couldn't figure out the trains in Tokyo, or sorry, Kyoto. This is Kyoto, and I had to go to Nara, and he was nice enough to be like, okay, were you? He spoke English, so he had actually lived in the States for 20 years,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and so he was asking me questions, super friendly, and I was like, yeah, and I would answer his question, and then like try to like put my head back and take a nap, and then he would ask me more questions, and I was like, he was so damn nice. I didn't have the heart to like tell him, please shut up. I want to sleep. But it was worth it. And he was actually super nice that he took me further along than I had ordered it in the Uber and didn't charge me extra for it. It was like a matter of 5 minutes, but still, I mean, that's really nice.
Hmm.
And he was like, oh yeah, I know where to take you and stuff. I was like, cool. So I go there, and another really nice encounter that I had was I I'm taking the last Shinkansen, which was Hiroshima to Tokyo. And if you look at the map, it's a tremendous amount of distance that it's taking. It's like something like 230 kilometers an hour that it goes. That's how fast it goes. I had already taken like three others just to traverse distance and save logistics and time. It was worth it. You feel like you're flying. You feel like you're floating on the air. And if you look out the window, you'll just see things pass you by. And it sounds stupid, but it's just like we could have this in the States and we
Yeah.
don't. But that's for another day. So anyhow, I'm on the one from Hiroshima to Tokyo. I passed out for the first 2 hours of the first leg of it. And the second two, I was like about to put my bags next to the empty seat. And all of these seats were reserved, but if no one, reserves a seat, obviously you can do whatever you want. You just put it
Hmm.
there. So as I'm about to put something down, this girl comes with a face mask on and like a roller briefcase and just like sits down. And internally I was like, fuck. But she takes out her phone and is like opens up Netflix and she's watching the Boo saga from Dragon Ball Z. And she had to be in her 20s at the very least in her 20s.
Uh-huh.
And at a certain point I was like, I'll fucking watch the Boo saga because my backpack is like up on the shelf. I'd have to get past her to get it. I'm too tired. And I'm just watching the Boo saga with her. And at a certain point, she realizes that I'm watching the Boo saga with her. And so she looks over, we kind of lock eyes. I just smile. And then she gets on her phone and looks something up. She types it in Japanese. I can't, obviously, we can't read it. And I think, shit, I probably like bothered her or done something that made her feel weird. Because at the end of the day, I'm in a different culture and a different country. So she goes back to it. I kind of just get back to watching it. She checks again. So I'm thinking either she's nervous or she's looking something up. And so at a certain point, some time passes and I type in my translator. I was like, hey, I hope I didn't disrupt you. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm from America and I'm a big anime and especially Dragon Ball Z fan. I hope everything's cool. And so she sees that, reads it, immediately grabs her phone, types into her translator, says, actually, I was trying to see if I could change the subtitles into English for you so you could watch.
So
And
wholesome. My God.
I'm like, dude, seriously, I was floored. I immediately give her like a visceral reaction of just like, in a good way. I was just like, I kind of like, just almost like fall back a little bit. My like eyes kind of widened up and I immediately respond like, thank you so much. That's incredibly kind of you. My name's Kunal, by the way. And she's like, my name's Hinano. I'll be getting off at Tokyo. Feel free to watch as long as you'd like. And
Oh my God, the
I, I,
hospitality.
I mean, yeah, you're like the whole adage that customer is king or customer is God. Like it was truly heartwarming. I'll never forget that. She didn't owe me anything. She even said, like, like have fun in Tokyo. It was actually kind of adorable because we were just talking through Google Translate. None of us said a word to each other, but it was all through text and
Nice.
whatnot, which is kind of amazing what technology can do to bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved it. I was super appreciative, and we parted ways with each other and left. I left back to, this is the last leg of Tokyo at this part. So yeah, that was really one of the coolest parts of the trip. And I'm trying to think of something else. Yeah, I mean, like, especially when I was in Hakone, the staff out there was very, very kind in terms of just making sure I was taken care of and everything. I know it's their job, no doubt, but there was one time I had a reservation and I was really tired, and I took a nap, and the nap went longer than I expected. And I slept through my reservation, and I immediately called them and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I slept through my reservation. Can I still come?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that's no problem. Just come on down." I was like, "Okay, cool. Thank you." And I had this wonderful like kaiseki, which is just like a bunch of small dishes in one. And it was awesome. I tremendously had a great time out there when it comes out for it. Yeah, that would be, I think that's most of the interactions that I can think of.
Yeah. Well, so you've like referenced a couple times, like in the previous episode and this one too, just like a bunch of Westerners coming into Japan because, they like anime. They have an understanding of the country based on that. I'm wondering, like, what was that like for you? Like, did you observe any sort of like reactions to like foreigners or any kind of interesting interactions based on coming in with that exposure to the culture, I guess?
Sure. Like I think you're trying to ask in a really nice way, did Japanese people get annoyed by Westerners only coming there for anime?
Yeah.
Which is like, that definitely, there's definitely something I wondered about when I was there, but I saw just as many, from what I could tell, nationals buying just as much anime stuff as we were. I mean, there definitely was a tourist lean for sure, but just as much as we did as they did, I would say. And also they lean into it tremendously. Copyright laws are different in Japan.
Yeah.
From what I've been hearing, which is why they can like put Evangelion on like vending machines and stuff like that. That's or like why they're able to take pachinko parlors, which are like their version of betting, and put Fits to North Star on top of it. So like, from what I have heard, and now if someone knows more, they know more, but they don't have to worry about that as much, or they don't worry about that as much. And so, I mean, like I when I got my picture next to a statue of Goku, there were two Japanese guys who were doing the same, and they understood enough English for me to take my picture and for them to take my picture, and vice versa. I was like, I can take a picture for you if you take a picture for me, and they're like, oh yeah, and so enough for like everyone else to enjoy it as well. I think definitely, I'm sure. I'm mostly sure that they're getting pissed off with tourists who come there for that reason, just the same. But I
imagine it's the loud minority, people who come in acting a fool, not respecting differences in cultural norms,
like barking around the place and acting like they own the place and whatnot, and who are just disrespectful. But like, I didn't really get heat from that. I mean, people didn't really. I didn't really see it. I didn't really see a whole lot of disgruntledness of like. I do remember going to a convention in the States, in town, and like there were a bunch of cosplayers who went to the Steak and Shake nearby, and they were just acting a fool.
Yeah.
And this one, I'll never forget this, because it both hurt and also made me laugh. But before he gets into his car and slams the door, he's like, "Fucking freaks." And I'm like, you know what? That dude, I don't blame him, because there are all these kids who were just being obnoxious, who didn't have anything like that. So I didn't see that kind of crowd in Japan.
Good.
Is my point. I didn't really see it. I'm sure it was there, but if they did see it, they didn't really say much about it. So in my experience, they were pretty accommodating, even if it was for the fact that I was spending money there. But like I said, there were interactions I had where it didn't really seem like that. It seemed like a really sweet place to go, honestly.
Yeah. So like, I guess on a related level, this kind of intersects. You witnessed like some celebrity there while you were in, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. I was trying to find a way to put that in, but like, there's a guy who I follow on YouTube and whatnot. He's really, really cool. his name is Takashi. I don't know his last name, but he's like, he has a channel called Takashi from Japan, and he has a whole thing on what's it like to see Japan. And he's actually the one, because he came onto another guy's podcast who I found out my friend Charlie actually personally knows, because
Oh.
that's how small the expat community is out there. Because
Huh.
this guy's name is Max, and Max is half Japanese, half you're Caucasian, and he's also living in Japan.
Hmm.
And so Takashi is, from what I understand, born and raised in Japan, but he speaks English, and he just interviews like different people in Japan, expatriates, nationals, etc., etc. Talks about like places to go, things to do. He straight up asks questions like, "What anime is overrated? What anime is underrated? Anything like that." He's like a really low key, informative YouTuber and interviewer in that way. Like
Hmm.
he came on Max's podcast and was like, "Yeah, don't go to Tokyo in the summer unless you really, really want to sweat." So I was like, Fantastic, I'll go in October." So I was like, my second day in Tokyo. I am looking for an ATM because I need to convert some cash, and I find one, but it's like I had to go like. Eventually, I find the place, and I'm walking down, and as I'm walking down, I see this guy, and I'm like, "Yo, that guy looks a lot like Takashi from Japan." And you know, like you do that always, like when you see people on a screen, and when you see them in real life, there is such a thing of seeing like them in a 3D form. It looks different. I
Sure.
can't explain it. It just is weird because like you see people on a 2D plane all the time, and you're like, oh yeah, that's whatever.
Yeah.
But when your eyes see them in a 3D plane, you're like, that kind of looks like that guy. And then I just to double check, I pulled out my phone and I Googled him, and I'm like, holy shit, that is him. And right as I was about to like go up to him, one of his friends comes up and like daps him, and they hug, and then they walk off. And so like, you know what? Let me not run after them. That'd be super weird. Like if he was still standing there at this moment. And then I double checked it later on his like Instagram, and that totally was the dude he was hanging out with.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, that wasn't just me being racist. I was totally did see Takashi from Japan.
Oh, good
And
pass. Oh, oof.
I know, right? For real. And I was like, ah, shit. Oh, well, I guess I'll catch him next time. And then I saw another YouTuber who I'd seen maybe a couple videos for, but I didn't know her name. But I saw her when I was getting on the Shinkansen, and she was going on a different train. But that was also wild. So it's small enough where you can run into people, but big enough to where it's like one of the biggest cities in the world. It's very odd in
Yeah.
that dynamic. So yeah, that was tight as hell. Yeah, it was, yeah. So interactions in that way were really cool. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if there's anything else that,
Well, what was that?
um,
What was that
yeah.
note that we looked over that was like meeting celebrities in real life? Like you kind of had like a humbling experience, or it wasn't exactly what you thought. It's
Oh,
never
like,
ceases to
is that,
amaze me once you visit or meet really famous
oh
people, the
yeah.
hype dies. Was that what you meant?
Oh no, no. I just meant that more for like when you go see like really famous things, like more.
Oh, got it.
So like you'll see something on Instagram, and that's the like, or like anywhere on social media, and you'll be like, this cafe is like really cool and does this, that, and that. And in your mind, you like hype it up, and you go there, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but this is also another place. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of realize that like, oh, it's it's made of matter, and it's not as, so sometimes a little bit of the magic goes, but that's the thing. That's how my head sometimes works, where it's like I hype up. Like I was talking to Charlie, and like, yo man, I've heard that these kombinis are legendary, and I remember him on the phone going, I mean, yeah, they're pretty cool. Like, don't get me wrong. He's like, I don't know if I call them legendary. And he even told me about Shibuya Crossing. He's like, dude, when you get there, it's just a crossing. Like like the hype for it dies quite a bit after that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like something magical is going to happen to you in places like that, and you go there, and like, who knows? It actually might, but sometimes you're just like, oh, this is a street. This is a place like that. But at the same time, I don't want it to take away of like the hype of the cumulative experience of going to shops, to walking, literally being, it's such a walkable country, like country, like, and subway travel is a little dream. If you miss your train, there's another one usually coming in like 5 minutes. You'll be good. Taxis work fine. Uber works there. The Shinkansen works there. Buses are really, really good. Google Maps, it's like what they say in Lazy Sunday. Google Maps is the best. True dat, double true. Like it's and that's a deep cut for people who are in their 30s right now. But it is such a clean city, such a fun place to visit.
Mhm.
It's totally worth it. So
Nice.
I'm glad I got to go.
Well, I guess on the subject of things having like a difference in like reality versus perception, you went to Hiroshima too, and you said that was a bit of a
Yeah,
surprise.
like that's a good call. I like the way you talked about the discrepancy between reality and expectations. Yeah, yeah. Hiroshima was surprising. Not only did they have really good fried oysters, but I was there to see like I'm the history guy, so like I need to go and check out the the museum
Hmm.
and see what that was like. That was hard to get through. It was like
Hmm.
I had to briskly walk at certain points because you read the stuff from like survivors and see pictures that they had, and it's like they don't pull any punches, and they don't. Yeah, so that was interesting. Where the museum was like only a couple blocks away from where the actual attack was, and it was really cool to see how it's recovered because it's been 80 years now,
Oh yeah!
and
Wow.
yeah, and like in 20 years it'll be a century, which I know sounds stupid, but it's
No.
been a long time. It's been a long. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
And you'll
And
blink and you'll miss it. It'll be 2044 in any day now,
in
right?
seriously, I mean, ever since COVID, time is just a dream. Doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really interesting, and it was the best place in the trip to just slow down because otherwise before this I was hustling. I was packed. My itinerary was packed. I was going from place to place. I was doing this and that. And I actually canceled something I was going to do in Hiroshima. I already did, it was a Studio Ghibli thing, but I messed up the logistics and I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And honestly, I was so tired. My parents were like, just sleep, just go and take the day off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am going to do that. And so I got food. I walked there. So many beautiful parks in Hiroshima. There, it's so walkable. I was right next to the Kyobashi River, and so I got to see like this beautiful night line, beautiful pictures of just buildings next to the water. I got to eat some stuff from the kombini. I remember this lunch very specifically. It was high protein grilled chicken, matcha salad, and then yogurt for just good probiotics.
Yeah.
And I just
Naturally.
sat there for like an hour and a half and I just got to enjoy the meal. I was like, I don't have to immediately walk right after this. I don't have to do anything. And after seeing the atomic bomb museum and the atomic dome that was there, I stumbled across an arcade. That was where I first stumbled across the arcades.
Uh huh.
And that's how we already talked about it in the previous portion, but yeah, that's how that kind of started.
Hmm.
So that was cool, and I got to continue that on when I went to Tokyo. But Hiroshima really, really surprised me. Hakone really, really surprised me because that's where the onsens were,
Hmm.
and you can't like they didn't let us take pictures for liability reasons, but oof, man, like there's something beautiful about waking up and seeing these three mountains and this mistiness, and just thought it was beautiful when it was raining when I came in, and then the onsens that were there. There's something about showing up naked and using a small towel to kind of hide your junk and not look anyone in the eye,
Yeah.
and then get into the onsen and just like look up at the stars
Yeah.
and realize like, wow, I'm never going to be able to replicate this. And I was like, so I just really soaked it in. I was like, I'm just going to have to. I was actually listening to one of my audio diaries for that day. And I was like, I just got to use my memory. Thankfully, it's really good and comes in handy. And I did both of them. I did one that was person made and then one that was natural that they just built around. So they had that. And like the entire resort was beautiful. It was like built around a natural area. And then it was right next to three mountains. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like the perfect area to have an onsen or have an onsen experience, in my opinion. So yeah, I, I except that was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyoto was cool because it showed me how much being a former capital of Japan, it was really important to, and it has a lot of cool experience, cool buildings there. I forgive it for having like a complicated train travel, but it
Holding that
had
grudge, holding it
it's no,
hard.
I forgive it because the ramen I had there was really good. Because I got there and they were playing like remixes of really popular music, and one of them was Frozen, and
Oh,
so
what?
yeah,
Like let it go full on?
like so it was just the instrumental. So that was the
Oh.
goofy part. Like, and then you'd have this thing where and you go there and you pay for your order. You type in on the screen, and you hand them your ticket, and they give you your stuff back. So I got um like tea in the beer glass, and then the ramen, and I was having it, and like later on I type in the translator, I was like, the food is amazing and so is the music. And I showed it to the waitress, and she just like reads it and just laughs, and she says arigato gozaimasu. And I was like, okay, good, because you should know that that was a fun experience. uh
Oh.
yeah, it was really sweet. And then I will say that, yeah, Tokyo, just be prepared to buy a bunch of shit because you're gonna have so much fun. I bought the world's best nail clippers out there, and they are so sharp. And then it's like, I got two from my friends, and we talk about it sometimes. Of like, hey, I'm so excited to clip my nails tonight. Something like,
It's like the little things, you know? Like these little quality of life aspects
yeah.
of products there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, there's such a, like, again, going back to the beginning, like just a high quality of certain things. If I knew more about skincare, I would have bought skincare stuff. But oh, I bought some really cool kitchen knives for my brother and sister in law and myself, like handmade and stuff. Really like interesting stuff. The last thing I do want to talk about, because I forgot to mention this, like, so this is the second day, my first full day of being in Japan, and I so like the first day was the Miyazaki experience. So like it was the Studio Ghibli Museum. It's in Mitaka. So I hadn't figured out how to use the trains in Tokyo yet. And so I walked it. It was a nice walk. It was overcast, raining a little bit. Kind of a nice, peaceful walk for all the craziness I had from starting the trip. And I'm walking there, and I get there eventually, and I'm trying to find like which line to go into. And I see like four people walk up, and some of them speak English. I immediately lock eyes with them. And I was like, is this the right one? And they go, yeah, this is the right one. And I'm like, how do you guys speak English? And then I find out that they're missionaries. Before you get worried, they didn't try to convert me.
Thank God. I
They,
mean,
I
thank
know.
whatever you want to follow, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, it just, I was gonna be upfront and be like, this is not my jam. I'm not here to knock anybody, but yeah, I grew up in Catholic school, so I was expecting that,
Hmm.
and luckily it did not happen. Fantastic people, very liberal and open minded and progressive missionaries, from what I could gather, but they were just there to have fun. They were just there to enjoy the experience. And what was hilarious is that, so they were saying where they were from. Meg was from England, I think. Michelle was from Germany, and then Tim was from New York. And I was like, oh, no way. I was actually born in New York. I don't remember much about it, but I was born there. Where were you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Buffalo. And then he asked me like, where am I from? I was like, I'm St. Louis, but I was born in Queens. And right as I said, born in Queens, Meg goes, like Spider-Man. And and I go, I was like, I couldn't get the grin off my face. I was like, yep, like Spider-Man. That was me. And we, we go in, and Charlie bought the ticket for me, and they were asking, like, the vendor was asking me, like, what's going on. And luckily Meg stepped in, and she spoke enough Japanese to bridge the gap between that explanation. So then we went in, they didn't let us take pictures in there, but we got to I turned to them, I was like, do you guys mind if I just kind of tag along? And they're like, oh yeah, we thought you were going to do that anyway. I was like, fantastic. So they were really, really open and just happy to talk to me. And they even like waited for me when I was at the gift store. I was like, you guys got to bounce. They're like, no, it's fine. We're actually going to get lunch. We were wondering if you wanted to join us. And I was like, yeah, that'd be beautiful. And so we bought our stuff. We left. We had okonomiyaki, which is like this Japanese savory pancake with like noodles and different meats and cheese. And you get this little griddle and we all just kind of had family style. And we talked about world politics. We talked about history. We talked about everything. Turns out Tim actually had been to Springfield, Missouri, because of course I find the first fucking connection to St. Louis, my first full day out there. And yeah, we parted. We took a photo, parted ways, and it was a really heartwarming way to start the trip too. So yeah, they all were diverging back to their respective locations, but then yeah, man, I think that basically covers it. Unless you had like any follow up questions or whatnot.
It's kind of neat, like you're meeting so many people, not just from Japan, but like throughout the world here, and like just the connections because like you share a language with them. Like language is a powerful thing. It's so interesting.
You can't have any kind of connection without language.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that. And the reason I say that is because you can't learn the culture without learning language. And then when you learn the language, you learn so much of the culture. So
yeah,
and then a shared interest will bridge that. You can bring people together, man. Like the world is more multicultural and connected than we give it credit for. I really firmly believe that.
Yeah.
So, especially in this day and age, despite everything going on, especially in this day and age.
This day and age. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? I will give you a single word. We'll kind of like round table, lightning round, some final points that we discussed beforehand. And you give me kind of your like snapshot for each of these single words. How's that sound?
Okay. Booyah. Let's do it.
All right. So, sushi experience.
Oh, unfortunately terrible.
Oh, no. No!
My friend took me to a place he hadn't been to, and it was just bad. I did have some sushi rolls outside of that. They were perfect. They were everything I wanted it to be. I just messaged him via email. I was like, thanking him again for the trip. And he's like, yo, dude, come on back. We'll get the sushi experience right. So keep in mind, he's working long hours, and he checked out a place that he hadn't been to because you had to reserve when you're in Tokyo and stuff like that. You have to put reservations down. Otherwise, you're not going to get the table. So unfortunately bad out there. But I will say seafood in general that I had out there outside of sushi, fantastic.
Oh.
Blew my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, blew my mind how like fresh and well seasoned. Matcha and salt is a great seasoning. Great seasoning.
I could see that.
So go ahead. That wasn't a lightning. No, I was just going to say that wasn't a lightning thing, but go ahead.
No. I feel like that's a good snapshot. I'm going to give myself license to use 2 words since I clearly broke my own rule.
Do it.
Wagyu beef.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Here we go.
Oh, so good. So good. Worth the hype. Charlie took pictures of me while I was eating it. Like I had actual wasabi with it. We had the fluffy bread toasted with it. It was everything it needed to be and more. It was not even like fully cooked, and it was just like melting in your mouth.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I've never seen marbling like that.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Beautifully cut. Like I even had the beef tongue, which I was like internally like, oh, I don't know about this. And then I had it, and the only thing about it was that it was a little chewy. That was it. But it tasted great. Yeah. Astounding, I would say.
It's a texture thing. Texture's great. Underemphasized.
Underemphasized, underrated, and if it's overrated, it's correctly rated. So like go have it. Yeah. Worth the money.
Okay. Next one. Get ready for this one.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Great toilets.
Oh my God, beautiful. My ass was clean. My ass was clean all the time. I didn't have to worry about it. Even in like the most like hole in the wall places had like a high-end TOTO toilets. Ridiculous. Ridiculously great.
Ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a bidet already? Is that already established?
I've been thinking about it. I need to find there's my personal bathroom in my condo it's a little small for what I think it could be, but the guest one, I might get one for that. That one has more space. Like unfortunately the one in my bathroom and in my personal one is a little too close to the wall. So I don't know. I'm trying to find one that will work for American toilets. So yeah.
Oh, man, we have to get it all customized. Look at us. Like
for real, right? Yeah.
Okay. Pachinko machines.
So I was looking for in the ATM, like I mentioned before, and I went into a pachinko parlor by accident. And I was like, oh, this looks like a cool arcade place. And I realized at a certain point, I was like, oh, no, this is a pachinko place. And apparently they've had problems with foreigners and they
Oh,
don't allow certain foreigners into them. But like they didn't stop me. So this is one I think that they didn't stop foreigners from coming in. I had no interest in betting. So I just left. But this is their loop around for playing a game that is equivalent to betting for them. So there's a weird like law for it out in Japan. Basically, my friend Patrick, who's been on the podcast before, mentioned that they had so many ball bearings from the Second War they didn't know what to do with them. So they made this game up as a result, and it's
uh,
popular in Korea too. So
yeah,
yeah.
cool. I just have to say I am horrific at pachinko. Attempted it once, lost all of my money, lost all of the ball bearings.
No,
It was catastrophic.
where'd you go?
It was at an
Oh, you
anime
played.
convention, naturally, in the middle of West Virginia. And they didn't bother to translate the machines. I didn't think to have
Oh,
the nifty Google camera translate. That's on me. I wasn't
I
immersed in the
mean,
culture such as yourself.
well, I mean that's a fair like it's. I wouldn't blame yourself for it because like you're just trying to enjoy it and you're like, yeah, you wouldn't think right away to take out your phone. So I gotcha. We've
Okay.
all been there. Yeah.
I think I got two more for you.
All right,
So
cool.
this one's kind of like an abbreviation. And it's going to lead into the next one as well. But MOS Burger.
Oh, Mossburger. Yeah. Surprise. So like I said, Japan has like their own takes on stuff, and Mossburger was one of them where it was they take different burgers, amazing fries, like the potatoes tasted amazing in there. And so sweets in Japan are different. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna die every time I eat something sweet in Japan. Like I felt like I was full and I was like able to walk and I was able to do a bunch of stuff afterwards. So it's not as processed. And then the Moss Burger, they also had like the different types of burgers that you could get out there. And then they also had different like so instead of like beef cutlets, they also had shrimp cutlets and you could get like shavings of cabbage and like a barbecue sauce with like a pita bun and just blew your mind. It was kind of funny because like the first time I went there, they didn't when you hit English, it didn't translate everything into English, and so I got a soy burger by accident. But I'll tell you what, that soy burger was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. So
You could work a
yeah,
soy. Yeah.
I they did it well. They did it well.
We're all soy boys. It's okay.
Soy. Oh yeah, and also the ginger ale was phenomenal out there. Like it didn't taste like medication. It tasted like a nice soda. So that was fun.
That's artful. So my last is fast food.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, did you do a KFC? Did you do a Burger King? Did you do a McDonald's?
So I did two out of the three you're mentioning. I did Burger King and McDonald's. McDonald's I had twice. Burger King I had once. McDonald's was really good. Again, high quality. They had these things instead of like you didn't have to get like a whole bunch of chicken tenders. You can get one thing called the shaka, and it was just like the size of your palm, and it was one chicken tender, which is like for me that was just like just right.
Nice.
Uh, Burgers tasted better out there. Apple pie was really good out there. I went to Burger King and got this double garlic patty, and it was like this cheese ketchup sauce that was put on top of it. And while I'm eating it, there's like jazz playing. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is like everything. This has my name written all over it. I love garlic. I enjoy Burger King and I love jazz. So this was like, and jazz is huge in Japan. I went to the Starbucks out there and it was a Starbucks come software store, come library, come like so many different things. And they're playing like big jazz. You could grab a book and just sit down and read with it. It was great.
Mm,
The KFC was funny because I saw it packed with Americans all the time, but it looked really good, and I just never got the chance to go in. That was
nice.
that was really it. Yeah,
Yeah. That actually, speaking of jazz, it gives me last one.
yeah.
So, City Pop.
It was definitely like I heard it like once or twice. I think when I was in like a mall that was attached to a grocery store, or rather a grocery store that was attached to a mall. But I definitely heard it well, throughout the trip. Not as much as we're hearing it in the States because it's blown up in the States.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. We're behind.
Yeah.
We're just catching up to that.
I think we are because like a lot of those people who are singing those songs, they're from the 80s. Some of them are actually, one of them is actually dead. Like who did Stay With Me, she's passed away like sometime in the 90s. But yeah, Japan loves jazz. Like there's whole like subsection on it. Patrick was telling me that apparently set players in Japan were like legendary, and they still are. When I was staying in Hakone, they were playing like they had like live entertainment, and so they were playing like different concertos, and they had a guy come in and play jazz at certain nights, and it was just beautiful to like kind of wind down your evening with that, and then go on to the onsen or come back from the onsen and go back to your room. So that was tight. Yeah,
that's awesome. Man. Well, Kunal, like, has there been anything that we haven't covered so far about your Japan experience that you want to share with the listeners?
My God, just give me one sec. Subway was fun. We talked about that. Convenience stores, Wagyu. We got the toilets. We got Takashi. We got the trains. We got the Gundam. I saw a kid wearing the out from Yu Yu Hakusho, and I couldn't help but like smile to myself when I saw him. And then I like quickly looked away because I was like, I don't want to creep anybody out. But there was a part of me that was very much like, yo, he's wearing the same outfit as Urameshi. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Did I talk about, I did talk about that, about everyone speaking English in Starbucks. And I had matcha at every chance I get, which was ice cream, like matcha tea, matcha lattes. I had everything matcha.
I'm nodding very loudly right now. You can't see it in the recording, but I'm nodding very approvingly.
I mean, thank you. And like, they know how to do it there. It's their I think it's from their industry from China, but like Japan does what Japan does best, takes it and it makes it its own, honestly. And things were so clean. Yeah, if I spoke the language, I would have felt invincible out there. It's basically it. Just all I have to say is just go.
Go to Japan.
Go to Japan. Like it's the only, I know it sounds goofy, but the only expensive parts are the flight and the hotels. But honestly, staying there, honestly, like going around and doing stuff, that's actually really, really inexpensive. It's not so bad. And yeah, just do it. Do it now.
Do it now. Right this moment. What are you waiting for?
Like park your car or take your car if you're listening to this in your car and drive to the airport today. Yeah. Don't even pack anything. Just go.
So they'll prepay for tickets. They'll just be like, what are you here for? And you're like, take me to Japan. And they'll be like, yeah, bet.
You know, what's even crazier is that if you're there for under 30 days, you don't need a visa. So it makes it even easier.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. We're really selling the listeners on this now, aren't we?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. Just go out there. Say konnichiwa, and it'll make all the difference. It'll be all good.
Oh, great.
He's face palming real hard right now, but it's okay.
We're really putting in the Weeb Pray Love title right now. That's okay.
I mean, we have to.
We'll make
just
it
the
through.
Fact that title came so seamlessly to you, and I was like, I can't not have an episode about this after going to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say, Andrew, thanks for interviewing me on this one.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And no problem. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad you could. I'm happy that I got someone on who's been a listener since day one. Basically, was like the beginning of our friendship too. And yeah, this was so much fun. I had a shit ton of coffee and I was like, I'm so excited to talk about Japan. It's Japanning. It's all good. It's so good.
And now
did I say
appropriately?
It was good, guys?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
More than good. Great.
There you go.
And now we're just riding out the end of our coffee crash.
Oh, so much. Oh my God. But all that to say, thanks again. Thanks for listening and keep it real, guys.
Keep it real.
Hey, fan peeps. Thanks for listening. And I'd love any feedback you have for me. Please follow the Facebook page, They Need a Hobby. And follow us everywhere, social media wise, under the handle @TNAHpod. That goes for Twitter and Instagram. And one of these days, I'll be super popular.